Good morning. How is everyone doing? Today we're going to talk about T4. Yesterday we talked about TSH and how TSH is a message that comes from your brain to your thyroid gland and tells your thyroid to make T4. Now, as a reminder, T4 is 4 iodine molecules and a tyrosine protein. That is a simplified version. And that is made here in your thyroid gland. Then that T4 has to go out into the liver and get converted to T3. That's the form our cells can use. You've heard me say it time and time again. It boggles my mind, but every cell in our body has that T3 receptor. So this T3 is the form that we need, we want, and absolutely will feel terrible if we don't have enough of. But it started with T4. So this is a place that I like to look at to see if you're making enough because potentially you aren't. So T4 production depends on a lot of things. First of all, we have to get the message from the brain. We established yesterday that that generally is happening pretty well for a lot of people. There are things that can go wrong here when we start to make T4. So first of all, what I see is that there's not enough raw materials to make the T4. So remember, T4 is made out of 4 iodines and a tyrosine molecule. That is quite a bit of material. And all of these nutrients come from the gut. So you've heard me say it time and time again, we've got to look in the gut. One of the biggest reasons that women don't produce enough T4 is because they have something going on in their gut that is preventing them from absorbing iodine and preventing them from absorbing tyrosine. That usually is sneaky infections like yeast or bacteria or fungus or viruses. Now, that can be one problem. Or it can also be that we're just not eating enough iodine and protein. Okay, well, let's look into that first. So, most diets have iodine present in them if you're eating vegetables, dark leafy vegetables. I'm not a huge promoter of iodized salt. The commercial salt that you buy because it is a chemical salt, you can get iodine from tons of other sources. So, one of my favorite sources is actually raw cheese. And I'm fully supportive of raw dairy. I think that's fantastic. Raw cheese has tons of iodine. That is a good source. So you can get it from dairy products. You can get it from dark leafy vegetables. It is in supplements. Many of you are taking supplements that help with iodine. So first of all, consuming enough iodine. Secondly, hoping that our gut will absorb the iodine. Then the iodine needs to come up here to the thyroid and it has to get bound to the tyrosine. Okay, well, where do we get tyrosine from? That one comes from proteins. So tyrosine is mainly found in animal proteins. That's things, like fish and chicken and salmon and turkey. All of those are great sources of tyrosine. So if you're not eating a lot of animal proteins, you might be low in tyrosine as well. And we can supplement that absolutely. Okay, so first of all, eat the things that make the thyroid hormone. Secondly, absorb the things. Okay, that's where many of us are broken. And now, third, we have to have the process happening in the thyroid to put them together. And it's a pretty complicated process that occurs in the follicle cells of the thyroid. Now, if you have Hashimoto's disease or Graves' disease, there are often antibodies produced in the gut that come up and attack this process. So, what they do is they actually hijack the ability of that tyrosine to stick to the iodines, or they will hijack the ability of the T4 to convert to T3. So those antibodies are just little villains and they just go about and they cause problems up here. They cause problems in the liver. They cause problems in the tissue. They are just trying to unravel what the thyroid is working hard to do. So why do we have antibodies? Well, same answer as before. They come from the gut. So you hear me say it time and time again. But if we want the thyroid to work, we have to find out what is going on in the gut that is preventing the thyroid from working. So as we just learned, T4 production is highly dependent on if we're eating the right foods, if we're absorbing the nutrients from our food, and then if our thyroid can actually put those nutrients together. And all of those things depend on what's happening in the gut. So the organic acids test, you hear me talk about it a lot. It is my favorite test to see if there are any sneaky infections in the gut that are preventing the the number one, the nutrients from being absorbed, but number two, if there is anything causing an autoimmune flare or causing the thyroid to slow down. Also, that test will show us how your tyrosine is functioning. So that is really, really cool because I see frequently those tests come back with very low tyrosine. So if you don't have enough tyrosine, you can't make your thyroid hormone. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, drop them below. Let me take a look here. I think we've got some friends joining us today. Hello, hello. I'm using a new platform and it doesn't show me the comments. So if you are there, hello. Um, Comment below if you have questions, comments, and I can respond later. But yes, let's do some testing. Let's find out why you're not absorbing your nutrients, why your T4 is not being made correctly, because we can't make that T3 if we don't have T4 to start with. So let's get that T4 working. A quick little aside on that, on your labs, when you're looking at your T4, the range on that, it depends by the lab, but we like to see the range like right in the middle. So some labs go from like 0.8 to 1.8. And if that's the case, it would be good if you're around like, 1.2, 1.4. So whatever range your lab uses for free T4, you want yourself to be in the middle of that. If you're coming up on the low end, that's a pretty good indication that either you're not having enough nutrients to make T4. If you're on a thyroid medication, it would suggest that the dose may not be adequate, or it could be that your immune system is involved and is tearing apart the T4 as we're trying to make it. So those are things to check for in labs too. All right, let me know what questions you have, and I will talk to you soon.